Dr. Bruce Banner had made a terrible mistake. The gamma radiation portal had seemed like such a brilliant solution, a way to shift between dimensions at the quantum level, potentially allowing him to separate himself from the Hulk by leaving the gamma-irradiated version of his consciousness in another reality. It was elegant. It was theoretically sound. It was based on principles he'd refined over 5 years of desperate experimentation. It was also catastrophically wrong. The moment the portal opened, something went wrong. Instead of creating a controlled dimensional doorway, the apparatus tore through reality itself with the force of a supernova. Alarms blared in Banner's private lab as the portal expanded beyond safe parameters, beyond any parameters, becoming a swirling vortex that pulled at everything with irresistible force. No, no, no. Banner frantically typed shutdown commands. But the portal was feeding on its own energy now, growing exponentially. Jarvis emergency shutdown. Authorization Banner Theta 7. Dr. Banner. The AI's voice remained calm, even as the lab began disintegrating around them. The portal has achieved self-sustaining reaction. Shutdown is no longer possible. I recommend immediate evacuation. The portal's gravitational pull intensified. Equipment, furniture, entire sections of wall ripped free and vanished into the dimensional breach. Banner grabbed onto his workstation, fingers white-knuckled against the pull, his heart rate spiking from exertion and fear. And fear, as always, triggered the change. Not now, Banner gasped, feeling the familiar heat building in his chest, the gamma radiation in his cells responding to stress. Please, not now. But the other guy had his own opinions about being pulled into an unknown dimensional vortex. Banner felt his consciousness fragmenting, felt the Hulk surging forward with primal terror that manifested as rage. Felt his body beginning to expand and change, even as the portal's pull became irresistible. The last thing Bruce Banner saw before the transformation completed was the portal consuming everything, pulling him through dimensional barriers that screamed in protest, his body caught between human and Hulk, as reality itself tore apart around him. Then, nothing. Then, pain. Then, green. On the planet Lothal, Imperial Governor Arinda Price received the report with skepticism. An unidentified object crashed in the wilderness, she said to the lieutenant standing at attention before her desk. We get meteorite impacts monthly. Why is this worth my attention? Ma'am, the object isn't a meteorite, the lieutenant said. Preliminary scans suggest it's some form of escape pod. Unknown design, unknown origin, and... He hesitated. It's emitting unusual energy signatures that our technicians can't identify. Price's interest sharpened. Unknown technology meant potential value to the Empire, and anything that could advance her standing with the Emperor was worth investigating. Secure the crash site, Price ordered. I want a full science team and a battalion of stormtroopers. If this is rebellion technology, I want it intact. If it's something else, she smiled coldly, I want it even more. The crash site was located 30 kilometers outside Capital City, in a rocky canyon that had absorbed most of the impact's force. The escape pod, if that's what it was, had carved a trench 100 meters long before coming to rest against a cliff face. It was roughly spherical, made of metal that Imperial scanners couldn't properly classify, and covered in scorch marks that suggested atmospheric entry at impossible velocities. Careful approach, Commander Brom ordered his troops. Unknown origin means potential biological contamination. Science team, maintain safe distance until we've verified. The pod's hatch, exploded outward with enough force to send shrapnel through a stormtrooper's chest plate. The trooper went down hard, and suddenly 24 rifles were aimed at the pod's dark interior. "Hold fire," Brom shouted. "Science team, what are we looking at?" "Life signs, sir," a technician reported, studying her scanner with confusion. "Single humanoid, but the readings are wrong. The energy output is off the scale. It's like the being inside is generating its own power source. I've never seen anything like." A hand emerged from the pod's interior. A human hand, attached to a human arm, connected to what appeared to be a human man in tattered purple pants who crawled out of the wreckage with the groaning movements of someone in considerable pain. Bruce Banner collapsed onto the rocky ground, his head spinning, his body aching from the transformation back to human form. He had vague memories of being Hulk, smashing through dimensions, experiencing pain that even the Hulk couldn't ignore, finally reverting to Banner as consciousness fled. "Where?" Banner managed, his voice rough. He tried to focus on his surroundings: rocky canyon, alien sky with wrong-colored sun, soldiers in white armor pointing weapons that didn't look like any Earth firearms. "Oh no, not another planet. Please tell me this isn't another planet." "Remain still," Commander Brom ordered, his rifle steady. "Identify yourself. What is your point of origin?" "Earth," Banner said, which was technically true. "New York. Dr. Bruce Banner. And I really need you to not shoot at me or make any sudden moves because I have a medical condition that reacts very badly to stress." "He's unarmed, sir," a trooper reported. "Preliminary scans show no weapons, no combat augmentation. Just an ordinary human." "Nothing ordinary about those energy readings," the technician muttered. "Sir, I'm detecting gamma radiation at levels that should be lethal, but he's showing no signs of radiation poisoning. In fact, his cellular structure seems to be actively regenerating. That's not possible." Governor Price arrived via shuttle, her expression hungry as she surveyed the scene. An unknown human with impossible biology, technology that predated their databases, and energy signatures that suggested applications the Empire could exploit. "Bring him to my research facility," Price ordered, "alive and conscious. I want him studied before we report this to Imperial Center. If this specimen has value, I want credit for the discovery." "Please don't call me a specimen," Banner said, trying to stand on shaky legs. "I know this looks weird, but I'm not dangerous. Well, I am dangerous, but only if you threaten me, and I really don't want to be dangerous today because I'm very tired and very confused, and..." A stun bolt took him in the chest. Banner collapsed. His last conscious thought before darkness claimed him was, "Oh no. Oh no. They shouldn't have done that. He's not going to like this." The other guy really didn't like being unconscious. Banner woke in a cell. Transparasteel walls on 3 sides, Durasteel on the 4th, and enough sensor equipment pointed at him to outfit a small hospital. He was still wearing his tattered purple pants, which suggested his captors hadn't tried to remove them. Small mercies. "Good, you're awake," a voice said through a speaker. Governor Price appeared on the other side of the Transparasteel, flanked by technicians and guards. "I am Governor Arinda Price, Imperial authority for this sector. You're going to tell me exactly what you are and where you came from." "I told your soldiers," Banner said, keeping his voice carefully calm, despite the panic rising in his chest. "I'm Dr. Bruce Banner from Earth. There was an accident with experimental technology, a portal. I ended up here. I'm not a threat. I just want to go home." "Your ship's technology is beyond our current understanding," Price said. "Your biological readings are impossible, and you're emitting radiation at levels that suggest either a weapon or a power source we can exploit. So let's dispense with the Innocent Scientist Act. What are you really?" "I'm really a scientist," Banner said, a biophysicist specializing in gamma radiation. The accident that brought me here also changed me. My cellular structure was altered by gamma exposure. It's complicated. Show us, Price interrupted. Demonstrate this change you mentioned. No, Banner said flatly. Absolutely not. You don't want to see that. Trust me. I don't trust you, Price said, and I don't have time for cooperation. If you won't demonstrate willingly. She nodded to a technician. We'll induce the response artificially. The cell flooded with electricity. Pain lanced through Banner's body, every nerve screaming, his heart rate spiking from 40 beats per minute to 160 in seconds. He tried to breathe, tried to use the meditation techniques he'd learned from Natasha, tried desperately to stay calm. But you can't stay calm when you're being tortured. Stop, Banner gasped. Please stop. You don't understand what you're doing. The technician increased the voltage. Banner's screams echoed through the facility, and deep in his cells, gamma radiation responded to stress the way it always did, by calling forth the monster. The transformation was violent. Banner's body expanded, muscles tearing and reforming, bones lengthening and thickening, skin turning green as gamma energy flooded his system. His mass increased from 80 kilograms to 640 in under 10 seconds. A physical impossibility that defied every law of thermodynamics, except the ones that governed gamma-irradiated biology. The Hulk opened his eyes. They glowed with rage. Hulk smash, he roared, and his fist struck the transparasteel barrier. The material was rated to withstand blaster fire and explosive decompression. It lasted exactly 0.3 seconds against the Hulk's rage. The barrier shattered into 1,000,000 pieces, and the Hulk charged through with the force of an out-of-control freight train. Stormtroopers opened fire. Blaster bolts struck green skin and bounced off like raindrops. The Hulk grabbed the nearest trooper and used him as a projectile, throwing him into 3 more, with enough force to send all 4 crashing through a reinforced wall. "Contain him," Governor Price shouted, backing away rapidly. "Deploy heavy weapons. Get the ATSTs into position." But the Hulk wasn't interested in tactics or strategic containment. The Hulk was interested in smashing everything that had hurt Banner, and right now, that meant smashing everything. He tore through the research facility like a natural disaster. Walls crumbled, equipment exploded, entire sections of the building collapsed as the Hulk's rage-fueled strength destroyed load-bearing structures without effort. An Atzwalker stomped into view, its pilot targeting the green giant with twin blaster cannons. The Hulk caught the walker's leg and simply pulled. Metal screamed, joints shattered, and the entire vehicle toppled. The Hulk picked up the fallen walker and threw it through the facility's outer wall, creating an exit where none had existed before. "This is Governor Price to Imperial Center," Price said into her comlink, her voice shaking. "I have a code Devastator situation. Unknown biological weapon out of control, requesting immediate military intervention. Send." She watched the Hulk tear Natiati's leg off with his bare hands. "Send everything." The Hulk burst through the facility's perimeter into the Lothal wilderness, roaring his fury at the twin suns above. Behind him, the Imperial research station was a smoldering ruin. Ahead was freedom, empty landscape where no one could hurt Banner, no one could study him, no one could turn him into a weapon. Hiraman, each stride covering 50 meters, his powerful legs carrying him away from his tormentors, and with each step, as the immediate threat receded, the Hulk's rage began to cool. Not much, but enough. By the time Imperial reinforcements arrived at the destroyed facility, Banner had transformed back to human, and was hiding in a canyon 30 kilometers away, shaking with exhaustion and horror at what the Hulk had done. "I'm not on Earth," Banner said to himself, his voice hoarse. "I'm in another galaxy, another dimension maybe, and they tried to torture me. Of course they did, because that's what always happens." He laughed bitterly. "The other guy and I really need to work on our travel luck." In the ruins of the research facility, a holographic transmission was being sent to Imperial Center. Governor Price, her uniform singed and her pride wounded, reported to a figure in a black cape whose mechanical breathing was audible even through the hologram. "Lord Vader," Price said, kneeling, "I have discovered a being of unprecedented power, humanoid, capable of extreme physical transformation, resistant to all conventional weapons. It destroyed an Imperial facility with minimal effort. I request your personal intervention to capture this monster." Darth Vader studied the footage of the Hulk's rampage with interest that bordered on fascination. Here was a being transformed by circumstance into something powerful and terrible. A being who wore his monstrous nature openly, rather than hiding it beneath a mask. "I will handle this personally," Vader said. "Prepare your forces, Governor, but do not engage the creature unless absolutely necessary. I wish to speak with it first." "Speak with it, my lord?" Price asked, confused. "Yes," Vader said. "I suspect we have much in common." The hologram cut off. Vader stood alone in his meditation chamber aboard the Executor, contemplating this new variable. The Emperor would want the creature captured, studied, potentially weaponized, but Vader's interests were more personal. He'd spent years as a monster in service to evil. What might he learn from a monster who fought to be free? The hunt for Bruce Banner had begun, and this time, the hunter was the most dangerous man in the galaxy. Banner spent 3 days hiding in the Lothal wilderness, scavenging for food, avoiding Imperial patrols, and trying desperately not to stress himself into another transformation. He'd fashioned primitive clothes from salvaged materials and found a cave system that provided shelter. He'd also had a lot of time to think. "Okay, Banner," he said to himself, a habit developed over years of solo isolation. "Let's assess the situation. You're in an alien galaxy. The local government is fascist and tried to torture you. You have no way home and no way to control when the Hulk emerges. On the bright side," he laughed bitterly, "there is no bright side. This is objectively the worst situation you've been in, and you fought aliens in New York." A sound made him freeze. Voices, multiple people moving through the canyon with the practiced efficiency of a military search team. Banner pressed himself against the cave wall, slowing his breathing, trying to calm the panic that threatened to trigger a transformation. If they found him, if they attacked him, the Hulk would emerge, and people would die. They always did when the Hulk got angry. The search team passed his position without detecting him. Banner released a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding, but he knew his luck couldn't last. This Empire, whoever they were, wouldn't stop looking. They'd seen what he could become. They'd want that power for themselves. Everyone always did. "I need allies," Banner muttered. "Someone who can help me understand this place. Someone who isn't trying to weaponize me." He thought about the soldiers in white armor, the authoritarian tone of that governor, the casual cruelty with which they'd tortured him for information. If there was an empire, there was probably a rebellion. There always was. And rebels, in Banner's experience, were usually the good guys, or at least the less bad guys. The question was how to find them without getting captured first. As if in answer, Banner's enhanced hearing, one of the few Banner State benefits of gamma exposure, caught the sound of repulsor engines approaching. Not the heavy Imperial craft he'd learned to recognize, but something smaller, more agile. A ship descended into the canyon, its design unlike anything Banner had seen. Sleek, almost organic in its curves, with paint that suggested independent ownership rather than military deployment. The loading ramp lowered, and a figure emerged. She was human, or humanoid at least, with green skin, head tails instead of hair, and an expression of cautious curiosity. A pilot, Banner's analytical mind supplied, noting her flight suit and the confident way she moved. "Hello?" the woman called out. "Is anyone there? We detected energy signatures matching the green monster the Empire's hunting. If that's you and you're listening, we're not Imperial. We're people who don't like the Empire very much." Banner remained hidden, torn between desperate need for help and ingrained paranoia. "We know you're human," the woman continued, "or were human before whatever happened to you. The Empire wants you captured and studied. We want to help you. There's a difference." She paused. "Also, we have food. Real food. Not whatever you've been eating in these caves. Just consider it." Banner's stomach growled. He hadn't eaten properly in 3 days, and something about this woman's tone suggested genuine concern rather than manipulation. Against his better judgment, Banner emerged from the cave, hands raised to show he was unarmed. "I'm Bruce Banner," he said. "Dr. Bruce Banner. And before we go any further, you need to know, I'm dangerous. Not by choice, but dangerous nonetheless. If I get angry, scared, or hurt, I change into something else. Something you really don't want to see angry." The woman studied him carefully. "The Hulk. That's what the Imperial reports are calling you. The green monster of Lothal. Hulk," Banner repeated, and despite everything, he smiled slightly. "Yeah, that's what they called him on Earth, too. Appropriate, I guess. And you are?" "Hera Syndulla," she said, "Captain of the Ghost. And you're right. We're not with the Empire. We're with the Rebellion. And Dr. Banner?" She smiled. "We make the Empire very angry. I think you and we are going to get along just fine." Banner looked at the ship, at Hera's earnest expression, at the possibility of allies who might understand that he didn't want to be a monster. "I should probably mention," Banner said, "that the Empire will keep looking for me. Being around me is extremely dangerous. You understand that? We're rebels fighting a galactic dictatorship," Hera said. "Danger is our baseline. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe. You can tell us your story, we'll tell you ours, and maybe together we can figure out how to make the Empire regret trying to capture you." Banner followed her aboard the Ghost, knowing he was trading one dangerous situation for another. But as the ship lifted off and left Lothal behind, he felt something he hadn't felt since arriving in this galaxy. Hope. Even if that hope came with the knowledge that eventually, inevitably, someone would threaten him or hurt him or try to weaponize him. And when that happened, the Hulk would return. Because the Hulk always returned. It was what the Hulk did. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Ghost's common area was cramped but comfortable. More a home than a military vessel. Bruce Banner sat at the table, wrapped in a blanket someone had provided, nursing a cup of something warm that tasted vaguely like tea, but definitely wasn't. Around him sat the crew that Hera had introduced, Kanan Jarrus, a bearded man with the kind of calm demeanor Banner associated with meditation masters, Ezra Bridger, a teenager with sharp eyes and sharper instincts, Sabine Wren, a Mandalorian artist who'd painted the ghost's exterior. Zeb Aurelios, a massive purple alien who'd initially made Banner tense until realizing the creature was gentle despite his size. And a droid designated Chopper who communicated in binary beeps that somehow conveyed distinct personality. So let me make sure I understand. Kanan said after Banner had finished explaining his situation. You're from another dimension called Earth. You're a scientist who was exposed to gamma radiation, a form of energy we don't have here, which transformed you into an unstoppable monster when you get angry. And a portal accident brought you to our galaxy while you were mid-transformation. That's the simplified version, Banner confirmed. The reality is more complicated. The Hulk isn't just a transformation. He's a separate consciousness, another person sharing my body. When I'm stressed or threatened, he takes over. And when he takes over, he's... Banner struggled for words. Imagine the angriest, most powerful being you've ever encountered. Now imagine that his strength increases the angrier he gets. No upper limit, just rage compounding on itself until he's literally unstoppable. We saw the Imperial reports. Hera said, you destroyed an entire research facility. Threw an AT-AT walker like it was a toy. The Empire's calling you the most dangerous biological entity they've encountered. And they're right. Banner said quietly, the Hulk is dangerous. I'm dangerous. That's why I've spent years trying to cure myself, control the transformations, or find a way to separate from him. Every solution I've tried has failed. And now I'm trapped in your galaxy, with no way home, and a galactic dictatorship that wants to weaponize me. About that, Ezra said, why does the Empire want you so badly? I mean, you're powerful, but they've got Star Destroyers and Death Stars. One super strong guy doesn't seem like that big a deal. Because I'm not just one super strong guy, Banner explained. I'm proof that gamma radiation can create unlimited power. If the Empire can replicate what happened to me, they could create an army of Hulks, unstoppable soldiers who get stronger the more they're hurt, who can't be killed by conventional weapons, who regenerate from injuries that would kill anyone else. They don't want just me. They want the science that made me. Kanan and Hera exchanged glances. That's worse than we thought, Kanan said. The Empire with that kind of power would be truly unstoppable, which is why I can't let them study me, Banner said. The notes, the technology that brought me here, they're all in the wreckage of my pod. If the Empire gets access to that, they might figure out gamma radiation physics. I have to destroy it before they can reverse engineer my research. The pod's in an Imperial impound facility, Sabine said, pulling up holographic schematics. High security, automated defenses, and after your rampage, they've tripled the guard. Getting in there will be almost impossible. Almost impossible is our specialty, Ezra said with a grin. We've raided Imperial facilities before. Not with me, you haven't, Banner said. If things go wrong, if I transform, the Hulk won't distinguish between Imperial soldiers and you. He'll smash everything, everyone. I can't risk you like that. Then we make sure things don't go wrong, Hera said with quiet authority. Dr. Banner, you need allies. We need your scientific knowledge. You said yourself you're a genius, and the rebellion can use every advantage against the Empire. This is mutually beneficial. We help you destroy your research before the Empire can exploit it. You help us understand how to counter Imperial technology. Deal? Banner wanted to refuse. Wanted to isolate himself like he'd done on Earth dozens of times, finding remote locations where the Hulk couldn't hurt anyone. But the truth was, he needed help. and these rebels seemed genuine in their opposition to tyranny. "Deal," Banner agreed, "but I'm serious about the danger. The Hulk has killed people. Good people who just happened to be in the wrong place when I lost control. I don't want that to happen to any of you." "Noted," Kanan said, "and appreciated. But Banner, we've all done things we regret in this war. The difference between you and the Empire is that you care about the consequences. That makes you worth the risk." Over the next week, Banner worked with the Ghost Crew to plan the assault on the Imperial impound facility. During that time, he also began contributing to the rebellion in ways that didn't require transformation. "Your technology is incredibly advanced in some areas and remarkably primitive in others," Banner observed, while examining a damaged X-Wing's shield generator. "You've mastered faster-than-light travel and energy weapons, but your power distribution systems are inefficient. If you reconfigure the energy couplings using parallel circuits instead of series..." He made some adjustments with tools Sabine provided. "You can increase shield strength by approximately 30%. 30%, Hera said, watching the power readings climb. That's a significant tactical advantage." "It's basic electrical engineering," Banner said. "On Earth, we solved these problems decades ago. Your galaxy took a different technological path, which means you have blind spots I can address. Give me access to your technical library, and I can probably improve multiple systems." The rebels watched Banner work with fascination. Here was a man who could transform into an unstoppable monster, yet he chose to spend his time solving engineering problems and helping people. The dichotomy was striking. "You really don't want to be the Hulk, do you?" Ezra asked one evening, watching Banner calibrate sensor equipment. "Would you want to be a monster?" Banner replied, "The Hulk is everything I'm not. Violent, destructive, uncontrolled. I became a scientist because I believe in solving problems through knowledge and understanding. The Hulk solves problems by smashing them. We're fundamentally incompatible." "But you're both you," Ezra said. "Right? Like the Hulk isn't some separate entity possessing you. He's part of you." "Psychologically, yes," Banner admitted. "The Hulk is my rage, my fear, my trauma given physical form. He's every bit of anger I've suppressed over a lifetime of control. But knowing that intellectually doesn't make him easier to accept. He's still a part of me I wish didn't exist." "What if you tried accepting him instead of fighting him?" Ezra suggested. "I mean, Kanan taught me that resisting your emotions makes them stronger. What if the reason the Hulk is so uncontrollable is because you're constantly trying to suppress him?" Banner paused, considering. "That's actually not a terrible theory. I've spent years viewing the Hulk as a curse to be cured. Maybe part of the problem is that antagonistic relationship." He shook his head. "But it's easier said than done. How do you accept something that's hurt so many people?" "By acknowledging it's part of you while choosing to be better," Kanan said, entering the conversation. "The Force teaches us that darkness and light exist in everyone. The question isn't whether you have darkness. It's what you do with it. The Hulk is your darkness made visible, but Banner is your light. Maybe the goal isn't to eliminate one or the other, but to find balance between them." Before Banner could respond, alarms blared throughout the Ghost. Hera rushed to the cockpit, followed by the others. "What is it?" Kanan asked. "Imperial fleet just dropped out of hyperspace," Hera said, studying the sensors. 3 star destroyers. And they're not searching randomly. They're coming directly for us. Someone must have traced our energy signature. Or tracked the gamma radiation I emit," Banner said, his heart rate spiking. "I'm sorry. I've led them right to you. Not your fault, Hera said, already plotting an escape vector. But we need to jump to hyperspace before they get within tractor beam range. Kanan, calculate. Captain Syndulla. A mechanical voice interrupted over the comms. It was deep, methodical, and sent chills down Banner's spine. This is Lord Vader of the Galactic Empire. You are harboring a fugitive of extraordinary value. Surrender Dr. Bruce Banner, and your crew will be allowed to escape with minimal pursuit. Refuse, and I will be forced to demonstrate why resisting the Empire is futile. Vader. Banner had heard the name during his week with the rebels, the Emperor's enforcer, a dark warrior with mystical powers who'd killed more rebels than any other Imperial agent. And now he was here, personally hunting Banner. We don't surrender our people, Hera said into the comm, especially not to the Empire. Admirable loyalty, Vader said, but misplaced. Dr. Banner is not one of your people. He's a being from another reality who represents a threat to galactic stability. I have no desire to harm your crew, Captain, but I will have Banner, one way or another. Go, Banner said urgently. Jump to hyperspace. Leave me in an escape pod. Vader's right. I'm not worth your lives. Shut up, Bruce, Sabine said bluntly. We don't abandon crew members, not to the Empire, not ever. But I'm not. Yes, you are, Ezra interrupted. Your crew now. Deal with it. The Star Destroyers were closing. Hera tried to maneuver toward hyperspace vectors, but TIE fighters were already launching, creating a blockade. They were trapped. Kanan, Hera said quietly. Ideas? 1, Kanan said, looking at Banner. And you're going to hate it. Banner understood immediately. You want me to transform, to be the distraction while you escape. Not a distraction, Kanan corrected. An ally. The Hulk can survive in space, right? You said he's jumped through dimensional barriers. He can probably survive vacuum. Briefly, Banner confirmed. His regeneration and durability are extreme. But sending the Hulk against an Imperial fleet is suicide and uncontrolled. He'll attack everything, Empire and Rebellion alike. Then we need to give him a target, Kanan said. Something he wants to smash more than us. Like, say, the man who's hunting you. Vader, Banner breathed. You want me to fight Darth Vader as the Hulk? I want you to keep Vader busy while we escape, Kanan said. Then we circle back and extract you. It's risky, but it's the only way we all survive. Banner's hands were shaking. Every instinct screamed against deliberately triggering the transformation. But Kanan was right. It was their only option. The Empire had found them because of Banner. The least he could do was buy his new friends time to escape. Okay, Banner said, but you need to promise me something. If the Hulk goes completely out of control, if he starts attacking you or innocent people, you leave. Don't try to save me, just go. I've lived with the consequences of the Hulk's rampages before. I can do it again. We're not leaving you, Hera said firmly. Promise me, Banner insisted. Please, I can't have more deaths on my conscience. Reluctantly, Kanan nodded. We promise. But Bruce, don't underestimate yourself. You've been fighting the Hulk your entire life. Maybe it's time to let him fight someone who actually deserves it. They positioned the Ghost near the lead Star Destroyer. Banner stood at the airlock, taking deep breaths, trying to calm himself for what was about to happen. How do you trigger the transformation? Ezra asked. Usually people hurt me or threaten me, Banner said, but I've learned to do it voluntarily when necessary. It's about letting go of control, accepting the rage instead of fighting it. He looked at the crew one final time. Thank you for treating me like a person instead of a weapon. It means more than you know. Come back alive, Hera said. That's an order. Banner smiled weakly. Then he closed his eyes, released the iron control he'd maintained for 7 days, and let the other guy out. The transformation was immediate. Banner's body expanded, skin turning green, muscles bulking impossibly. The airlock that had seemed spacious suddenly felt cramped as the Hulk filled it with mass that defied physics. The Hulk looked at the rebels. For a moment, Banner feared he'd attack them, but some fragment of Banner's consciousness, or perhaps the Hulk's own primitive recognition of allies, made him merely nod. Then Hera opened the airlock, and the Hulk launched himself into space. The vacuum should have killed him instantly. Instead, the Hulk simply held his breath, his enhanced biology, allowing him to survive what would kill normal beings. He oriented on the nearest Star Destroyer and leaped, his powerful legs propelling him across the void. He hit the Star Destroyer's hull with enough force to dent Durasteel. Then he started smashing. Aboard the Executor, Darth Vader felt the disturbance immediately. Not through the Force. The creature called Hulk existed in a strange blind spot to Force perception, but through sensor reports of a single being tearing through Star Destroyer armor with bare hands. Fascinating, Vader said. The creature accepts battle rather than fleeing. Commendable, if foolish. He sealed his armor for hard vacuum and made his way to the ship's exterior. Through the Force, he could sense the Ghost's crew escaping, but they didn't matter. The Empire would find them again. What mattered was the green giant currently tearing a turbo laser battery off his Star Destroyer. Vader stepped into space and activated his suit's propulsion systems, moving toward the Hulk with mechanical precision. The Hulk saw him coming, saw the black armor, the flowing cape, the red lightsaber igniting, some primal part of the Hulk's consciousness, Banner's memories perhaps, recognized this as the threat, the hunter, the enemy. Hulk smashed Tiny Man in metal. The Hulk roared, his voice audible even in vacuum through some property of his gamma-irradiated biology that defied physics. He leapt at Vader with fists raised. Vader used the Force to redirect the trajectory, sending the Hulk tumbling past him. But the Hulk simply grabbed a piece of hull plating and used it as a springboard, changing direction mid-flight with impossible agility. His fist connected with Vader's chest. The impact would have killed any normal being. Vader's armor absorbed most of it, but even he was sent flying backward, crashing through sensor arrays and communication equipment. Impressive, Vader said, regaining control. Strength without refinement, power without purpose. You're like a natural disaster given form. He struck with his lightsaber. The plasma blade, which could cut through nearly anything, struck green skin and stopped. The Hulk's durability was such that even a lightsaber only managed to create a superficial burn that healed almost instantly. Hulk stronger than laser sword. The Hulk bellowed, grabbing for Vader. Vader used the Force to create distance, pushing the Hulk away while analyzing this unprecedented opponent. A being immune to lightsabers, resistant to Force powers, possessing strength that appeared to have no limit. "Tell me," Vader said, his mechanical voice carrying across the void, "do you choose this existence, or were you transformed against your will as I was?" The Hulk paused, confused by the question. Deep within the rage, Banner's consciousness stirred. Was Vader trying to talk to him? "Hulk not choose," the Hulk said, his voice slightly less aggressive. "Banner made Hulk. Banner trapped Hulk in body. Hulk just want to be free." "I understand," Vader said, and there was genuine empathy in his mechanical voice. I too was transformed by circumstance into something I never wished to become. I too wear armor that sustains and imprisons me simultaneously. We are alike, creature. Both of us are monsters seeking purpose. Hulk not monster, the Hulk roared, the moment of connection breaking. Banner say Hulk is monster. Everyone say Hulk is monster, but Hulk just want to be left alone. He launched himself at Vader again, but this time with more pain than rage in his actions. Vader saw it. The creature wasn't evil. It was hurt, confused, lashing out, because violence was the only language it knew. Like Vader himself. Then let me help you, Vader said, dodging the Hulk's grab. The Emperor can give you control, can separate you from Banner permanently, give you your own existence, your own freedom. All you must do is serve the Empire. The offer hung in the vacuum. The Hulk hesitated, clearly tempted. Freedom. His own body. No more sharing consciousness with Banner. But deep within the rage, Banner's voice whispered, "It's a lie. Everything the Empire offers is a lie. They'll use you, corrupt you, make you their weapon. Don't listen." "No," the Hulk roared. "Hulk no lies. Empire hurt Banner. Empire try to make Hulk into weapon. Hulk smash Empire. Hulk smash Vader." He grabbed a piece of destroyed hull plating, the size of a small house, and swung it like a club. Vader barely managed to dodge, the makeshift weapon missing his head by centimeters. "Very well," Vader said, his tone cooling. "If you will not serve willingly, you will serve through force. The Emperor always gets what he wants, even from unkillable monsters." The battle escalated. Vader used the Force to tear pieces of the Star Destroyer free, hurling them at the Hulk with telekinetic precision. The Hulk caught them, threw them back, used them as projectiles and shields. They fought across the hull of the damaged ship, their battle creating a debris field that made navigation hazardous for the TIE fighters trying to pursue the Ghost. But the Hulk was operating on borrowed time. Even his enhanced biology couldn't survive hard vacuum indefinitely. His movements were slowing, his attacks less coordinated. The Hulk didn't need to breathe constantly. His physiology was too chaotic for that. But even he had limits. Vader sensed the weakening and pressed his advantage. Force lightning, something he rarely used due to his cybernetic vulnerabilities, crackled from his hands. The energy struck the Hulk, and for the first time, the Green Giant actually recoiled in pain. "I have killed greater beings than you," Vader said, advancing methodically. "Jedi Masters, Sith Lords, warriors from 100 worlds. You are powerful, creature, but power alone has never been enough to defeat me." The Hulk was on his knees, the Force lightning burning through even his incredible durability. Gamma radiation and dark side energy, two cosmic powers that should never have met, were interacting catastrophically within the Hulk's cells. Then the Ghost reappeared, Hera's voice crackling over local comms. "Bruce, we're coming for you." "No," Vader and the Hulk said simultaneously. Vader because he didn't want his prey escaping. The Hulk because Banner's protective instincts had reasserted themselves. But Hera didn't listen. She brought the Ghost in fast, the ship's loading ramp lowering. Kanan stood at the entrance, using the Force to pull the Hulk aboard with telekinetic strength enhanced by desperation. The Hulk tumbled into the ship, gasping, Banner's consciousness fighting back to the surface now that the immediate threat had passed. Ezra slammed the ramp controls, and Hera punched the hyperdrive. The Ghost vanished into hyperspace, leaving Vader standing alone on the damaged Star Destroyer. watching his quarry escape. Interesting, Vader said to himself. The monster has allies who care for him, who risk themselves to save him. That is unexpected. He made a decision then. The Emperor wanted Banner captured and studied, but Vader's interest was more personal now. Here was a being who understood transformation, imprisonment within one's own power, the burden of being a weapon. Vader would find Banner again, and next time, he would offer something the Emperor never would. Understanding. Inside the Ghost, now safely in hyperspace, the Hulk's transformation reversed. Bruce Banner collapsed on the deck, naked, except for the tattered remains of his pants, gasping for air he hadn't breathed in 15 minutes. "I'm alive," Banner said in disbelief. "I fought Darth Vader in space, and I'm alive." "We're all alive," Hera confirmed. "Thanks to you. You gave us the time we needed to escape. And you came back for me," Banner said, tears in his eyes. "You risked everything to save me. Why?" "Because your crew," Sabine said simply. "We told you that." Banner looked at these rebels, these impossibly brave people who'd treated him like a person rather than a monster, who'd risked their lives to save him, who'd seen the Hulk at his most violent and still chose to help. "Thank you," Banner said, "and I'm sorry for bringing Vader down on you, for putting you all at risk. I should have." "You should have nothing," Kanan interrupted. "Bruce, stop apologizing for existing. The Empire would have come after us eventually anyway. That's what they do. At least with you, we've got someone who can literally punch Star Destroyers. That's got to count for something." Despite everything, the exhaustion, the fear, the lingering trauma of the transformation, Banner smiled. Maybe, just maybe, he'd found the first place since the accident where he could be both Bruce Banner and the Hulk, where neither side of himself had to hide. It wasn't home, but it was something close. And in a galaxy at war, that was more than he'd dared hope for. The rebellion's hidden base on Atollon was a testament to desperation and hope in equal measure. Prefabricated structures on a desolate moon, protected by a handful of fighters, and the belief that the Empire's reach didn't extend to every corner of the galaxy. Bruce Banner had been there for 3 weeks, and he'd never felt more useful or more terrified simultaneously. The improvements to our shield generators have exceeded all projections, Mon Mothma said during the strategy briefing. The rebellion's civilian leader studied holographic displays showing power efficiency charts that would have made Tony Stark jealous. "Dr. Banner, your expertise has given us tactical advantages we desperately needed. It's just applied physics," Banner said, uncomfortable with praise. "Your engineers did the actual work. I just pointed out inefficiencies that are obvious to someone from a more technologically developed dimension." "Technologically developed in different ways," Admiral Raddus corrected, the Mon Calamari's gravelly voice carrying respect. "Your people mastered certain principles we overlooked. That combination of perspectives is invaluable." The briefing continued with reports from across the rebellion. Imperial activity was increasing in their sector. More patrols, more aggressive searches, more resources dedicated to hunting rebel cells, and at the center of it all, one name kept appearing: Darth Vader. "He's personally overseeing operations in this region," General Dodonna reported, "which is unusual. Vader typically focuses on high-value targets: captured Jedi, major rebel installations, political dissidents. But he's been pursuing smaller targets, almost like he's searching for something specific." Everyone in the room looked at Banner, who shifted uncomfortably. "Me," Banner said quietly. "He's searching for me. Our encounter in space, he seemed interested, not just in capturing me as a weapon, but in understanding what I am. It was strange, like he saw himself in the Hulk somehow. That's disturbing on multiple levels, Hera said. Vader identifying with the galaxy's most dangerous biological weapon suggests he's even more unstable than intelligence reports indicate. Or more self-aware, Conan suggested. Vader's a cyborg, right? Man merged with machine after some catastrophic injury. Banner's a man merged with a gamma-powered alter ego. They're both beings transformed by trauma into something they might not have chosen. The parallel isn't hard to see. Parallel or not, we need to address the threat, Mon Mothma said. The Empire isn't going to stop hunting Dr. Banner, which means we need to decide, do we hide him indefinitely, or do we use his unique abilities strategically? You want to deploy the Hulk as a weapon, Banner said flatly. Turn me into what everyone always wants to turn me into, a tool for violence. I want to give you agency in that choice, Mon Mothma corrected gently. Bruce, you've contributed enormously to our technical capabilities. But the reality is that the Hulk represents a tactical asset unlike anything else in the galaxy. A single being who can take down Imperial installations without starfighter support. Who can't be killed by conventional weapons. Who gets stronger the more the Empire tries to stop him. And who might kill rebel soldiers if he loses control, Banner said. Who might smash your bases, destroy your ships, harm innocent people because he can't distinguish friend from enemy when the rage takes over. You're asking me to be a weapon while knowing I could turn on you at any moment. We're asking you to be a soldier, General Dodonna said, which means accepting that you'll be in danger, that you'll have to fight, that people might get hurt. That's the reality of war. The question is whether you're willing to accept that reality in service of stopping a tyrannical empire. Banner stood and paced, his mind racing through implications. He'd spent years trying to avoid being weaponized, trying to keep the Hulk away from battlefields and conflicts where the other guy could be exploited. But here he was in a galaxy at war, with people who'd treated him with respect and dignity, asking him to help them fight fascism. I'll do it, Banner said finally, but on my terms. I choose the missions. I assess whether the Hulk is necessary, or if my technical skills would serve better. And if at any point I think the Hulk is becoming more liability than asset, I walk away. Understood? Understood. Mon Mothma agreed. Thank you, Dr. Banner. Your contribution, both scientific and tactical, may prove decisive in our struggle. The first mission came within days. The Empire had constructed a weapons research facility on Scarif, a heavily fortified installation developing next-generation planetary shields. Intelligence suggested they were close to breakthrough technology that would make Imperial worlds effectively invulnerable to rebel attacks. We need to destroy the facility before they can deploy the shields, Admiral Raddus explained, but conventional assault would require a fleet we don't have. The facility is protected by energy barriers, automated turrets, and a full battalion of stormtroopers. It's designed to be impenetrable. Nothing's impenetrable to the Hulk, Ezra said with the confidence of youth. He could smash through their defenses in minutes. Possibly, Kanan said, but Scarif is populated. Civilian scientists, support staff, families of Imperial officers. If the Hulk loses control, innocents could die. Then I'll maintain control, Banner said, though his voice lacked conviction. I've been practicing, trying to communicate with the Hulk, establish ground rules. He's not just mindless rage. There's intelligence there. He understands friends and enemies, even if his methods are violent. Understands or listens to you? Sabine asked skeptically. Some of both, Banner admitted. The Hulk is me, fundamentally. My rage, my trauma, my suppressed emotions given physical form. The better I understand myself, the better I can work with him, rather than against him. At least that's the theory. Theory needs to become practice fast, Hera said, because we deploy in 6 hours. The approach to Scarif was textbook rebel strategy. Small insertion team, minimal signature, land under cover of a sandstorm that the planet's weather control systems had conveniently failed to prevent. Banner suspected Sabine's remote slicing had something to do with that convenient failure. They set down 2 kilometers from the weapons facility, and Banner studied the structure through macro binoculars. It was massive, a complex of interconnected buildings surrounded by shield generators and automated defenses that would shred any attacking force. "That's our target," Cassian Andor said. The intelligence officer had joined the mission specifically because of the sensitive nature of the facility. "We need to get into the central research lab, download their shield specifications, and plant charges that'll destroy the entire complex. In and out in 30 minutes. "And if we're detected?" Banner asked. "Then you make a very loud distraction while we complete the objective," Cassian said. "No offense, Doctor, but you're our contingency plan. If this goes right, you won't need to transform at all." It didn't go right. The insertion team made it past the outer perimeter, bypassed the first 2 security checkpoints, and reached the research building's entrance before Imperial sensors detected their intrusion. Alarms blared, blast doors sealed, and suddenly they were trapped in a kill box with stormtroopers pouring in from every direction. "So much for stealth," Sabine said, her blasters already firing. Banner pressed himself against a wall, trying to slow his breathing, trying to stay calm despite blaster bolts ricocheting around him. The team was good. They held their position, took down stormtroopers with precise fire, created cover using equipment and debris, but they were outnumbered 50 to 1, and reinforcements were arriving every minute. "Bruce," Hera called over comms, "we need the other guy, now." "I can't. There are civilians in this facility," Banner protested. "If I transform here, in close quarters, I could kill everyone, rebels and Imperials alike." "Then we're dead anyway," Cassian shouted back, taking cover as a thermal detonator exploded nearby. "Make the call, Doctor. Transform, or watch us die." Banner's hands were shaking. His heart rate was spiking. Every instinct screamed at him to let the Hulk out, to let the monster solve this problem the way the monster always did. But he'd spent years learning that the easy solution wasn't always the right one. "Get to the research lab," Banner said, his voice suddenly calm. "I'll draw them off. Give you time to complete the mission." "Bruce, you can't fight an Imperial battalion as a human." Kanan started. "I'm not planning to fight them as human." Banner interrupted. "I'm planning to lead them away from you, then transform in a location where collateral damage won't hit friendlies. Trust me." He ran before anyone could argue, sprinting down a corridor away from his team. Stormtroopers saw him and immediately gave chase. Imperial intelligence had disseminated Banner's image across the entire military. Everyone knew he was priority 1 capture target. Banner led them through the facility, using his enhanced endurance to outpace armored troops, his analytical mind mapping escape routes and optimal transformation locations. He burst through an emergency exit into the facility's central courtyard, an open space surrounded by research buildings but empty of personnel. Perfect. The stormtroopers poured into the courtyard after him, at least 100 troopers forming a perimeter, weapons trained on the exhausted scientist, standing alone in the center. "Dr. Banner," an officer called through an amplifier, "you're surrounded. Surrender, and you will not be harmed. The Empire has use for men of your intelligence." "I've heard that before," Banner said, straightening despite his exhaustion. "And I didn't believe it then either. Here's the thing about me. I don't respond well to threats, or being cornered, or people trying to use me as a weapon. And right now, you're doing all three." His heart rate was already elevated from the run. His stress hormones were flooding his system. The transformation was inevitable. He just needed to direct it properly. "Last chance," the officer said. "Surrender or we open fire." "You're going to regret that," Banner said. Then louder, "You're all going to regret that." The stormtroopers opened fire, and Bruce Banner disappeared, replaced by 800 kilograms of pure rage. The Hulk emerged, roaring, blaster bolts bouncing off his skin like raindrops. He grabbed the nearest stormtrooper and threw him into 5 more, sending the entire group flying. And a TST walker stomped into the courtyard, its weapons locking onto the green giant. The Hulk didn't dodge. He charged directly at the walker, his fists raised. The walker fired both blaster cannons at point-blank range. The energy struck the Hulk's chest and simply dissipated against his gamma-enhanced biology. Then the Hulk grabbed one of the walker's legs and pulled. Metal screamed. Joints shattered. The entire walker toppled, its pilot trying desperately to eject, before the Hulk tore into the vehicle's command pod like it was made of cardboard. The pilot survived. The Hulk threw him clear rather than killing him, some fragment of Banner's consciousness asserting minimal control. "Deploy heavy weapons," the officer commanded. "Authorization Gamma Protocol. Engage the target with maximum force." Gamma Protocol. The Empire had named their anti-Hulk measures after the very radiation that created him. Banner, buried deep in the Hulk's consciousness, would have appreciated the irony if he weren't so busy trying to keep the Hulk from killing everyone. Turrets rose from concealed positions around the courtyard. Not standard blasters. These were experimental weapons, their design recognizable to Banner's analytical mind, even through the Hulk's rage-colored perception. Particle disruptors. Weapons designed to destabilize matter at the quantum level. The weapons fired. The Hulk was struck by multiple beams simultaneously, and for the first time since arriving in this galaxy, he felt actual pain. The particle disruptors were disrupting his cellular cohesion, breaking down the gamma-enhanced bonds that gave him his strength and durability. The Hulk howled in rage and pain, and as always when the Hulk felt pain, he got angrier, and when he got angrier, he got stronger. His muscles bulked further, his already massive frame expanding beyond what should be physically possible. Gamma radiation poured off him in visible waves, his very presence warping the air through sheer energy output. And the particle disruptors, designed for normal matter, simply couldn't match the rate at which the Hulk's biology was adapting and regenerating. He smashed the nearest turret with one fist, then leaped 50 meters to the next one, destroying it mid-flight. One by one, the weapons fell to the Hulk's rampage. And with each destroyed turret, his rage grew, not just at the Empire, but at being used, being cornered, being forced into this situation. Inside the research building, Hera's team heard the sounds of destruction outside and worked faster. "Whatever Bruce is doing, it's working," Cassian said, downloading data from the Imperial computers. Every trooper in the facility is mobilizing to contain him. We're clear to complete the mission." "He's giving us everything," Kanan said, sensing the battle through the Force. The Hulk's rage was so intense it created ripples in the Force itself. Not dark side exactly, but raw, primal emotion powerful enough to affect the galaxy's mystical energy. But he's losing control. The more they hurt him, the angrier he gets. We need to finish this before the Hulk destroys the entire facility with us inside it. They planted the charges, downloaded the shield specifications, and were preparing to evacuate when a new presence entered the facility. Kanan felt it through the Force. Cold, mechanical, powerful. "Vader," Kanan whispered. "He's here." Outside, the Hulk had just finished demolishing the last particle disruptor when he felt it. The same presence he'd sensed in space weeks ago. The Hunter. The one in black metal who'd hurt him with lightning, who'd tried to control him, who'd offered false promises of freedom. Darth Vader descended into the courtyard via shuttle, his cape billowing dramatically despite the lack of wind. He surveyed the destruction, smoldering AT-STs, destroyed turrets, unconscious stormtroopers, and nodded as if confirming a hypothesis. "Impressive," Vader said, his mechanical breathing loud in the sudden silence. "You've improved since our last encounter, are stronger, faster, more controlled. You're learning to harness the rage rather than being consumed by it." "Vader," the Hulk growled, articulating the name with difficulty. His intelligence was limited in this state, but he remembered enemies, always remembered enemies. Hulk not like Vader. Vader chase Hulk, try to catch Hulk, make Hulk into weapon. "Is that so different from what your rebel friends are doing?" Vader asked, walking calmly toward the Hulk despite the obvious danger. "They too use you as a weapon. They too deploy you when violence is needed. The only difference is you've chosen to help them. But choice under desperation isn't really choice at all, is it?" The Hulk paused, confused by the logic. Inside his consciousness, Banner stirred. Vader was manipulating the Hulk, trying to create doubt, wedged between Banner and his allies. "Friends not use Hulk," the Hulk said slowly. "Friends ask Hulk to help. Not same thing. Vader tried tricks. Hulk not stupid." "No," Vader agreed. "You're not stupid. You're traumatized. A being created by accident, forced to exist as a weapon, seeking purpose in a galaxy that fears you. I understand, creature, more than you know. I too was created by accident, by the failure of those who should have saved me. I too am feared. I too exist as a weapon." He deactivated his lightsaber and removed his helmet. The face beneath was a ruin, scarred, pale, eyes that had seen too much suffering. But they were human eyes, expressing an empathy that seemed impossible from the Empire's most feared enforcer. "I show you my face, creature," Vader said, the face of the man beneath the monster. "Can you do the same? Can Bruce Banner speak to me, or are you all that remains?" The question reached deep into the Hulk's consciousness, to the place where Banner watched and waited. Could Banner speak through the Hulk? Could they merge enough for a conversation to happen? Banner had never tried, had always fought to suppress the Hulk, to contain him, to keep their consciousnesses separate. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe integration, not separation, was the key. The Hulk's eyes flickered, green to human to green again. His posture changed, becoming less aggressive, more contemplative. When he spoke, the voice was different, deeper than Banner's human voice, but more articulate than the Hulk's usual speech. "I'm here," the Hulk said, and it was both Banner and the other guy speaking simultaneously. Banner and Hulk, together, talking to Vader. "What do you want?" Vader's scarred face showed approval. "Progress. You're learning what I learned. That transformation doesn't require surrendering your humanity. That monster and man can coexist if you stop fighting yourself. The Emperor taught me this lesson. He can teach you as well." "The Emperor turned you into a weapon," the Hulk Banner said. "A slave in fancy armor. That's not coexistence. That's imprisonment." "Perhaps," Vader acknowledged, replacing his helmet. "But it's imprisonment with purpose. The Empire brings order to chaos, structure to anarchy, peace through power. You could serve that purpose, creature. Use your strength to enforce stability, rather than rebel chaos." "The Empire's idea of peace is tyranny," the Hulk Banner said. "Control through fear. Subjugation disguised as security. I've seen governments like yours on Earth. They always claim they're bringing order. They always cause more suffering than they prevent. And the rebellion offers what? Hope?" Vader's voice dripped with contempt. "Hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. Hope doesn't win wars. Power wins wars, and you, creature, possess power beyond measure. The question is whether you'll use it wisely or waste it on a rebellion that cannot succeed." The Hulk Banner was silent, processing. Vader made compelling arguments. The same arguments Banner had heard from General Ross, from S.H.I.E.L.D., from every authority figure who'd ever tried to control the Hulk. They were always couched in reasonable language, in practical necessity, in the greater good. They were always lies. "I choose the rebellion," the Hulk Banner said, "not because they're perfect, not because they'll definitely win, but because they asked me to help instead of ordering me, because they treated Banner like a person instead of a resource, because when you're a monster, the people who see you as human matter more than the people who see you as a weapon. Then you choose death," Vader said, reigniting his lightsaber. "The rebellion will fall, the Empire will endure, and you, creature, will be captured, studied, and replicated. Your power will serve the Empire whether you cooperate or not. I gave you a chance to serve willingly. You have rejected it. Now I will take what I need by force." The battle that followed was different from their first encounter. This time, the Hulk wasn't just rage, he was purpose. Banner's intelligence guided the Hulk's strength, creating a fusion of mind and muscle that was more effective than either alone. Vader struck with his lightsaber. The Hulk blocked with a piece of debris, using it as a disposable shield. When Vader used the Force to throw objects, the Hulk predicted the trajectories using Banner's analytical mind and dodged with precision rather than brute strength. They fought through the courtyard, into buildings, across the entire facility. Each exchange was tactical, chess played at supersonic speeds. Vader trying to find weaknesses, the Hulk adapting to every strategy. "You've improved," Vader admitted, breathing harder than he'd care to admit. "The intelligence guiding your rage makes you formidable. But you're still learning. I have been a warrior for decades, and I've been fighting to stay human for years," the Hulk Banner said. "Different kind of battle, but just as hard, maybe harder." Inside the research building, Hera's team had completed the mission and were preparing to evacuate. But they couldn't leave Banner, not after everything he'd done for them. "We need to extract him," Hera said. "Vader's here, if Banner gets captured." "He won't," Cannon said with certainty. "I can feel it through the Force. Banner and the Hulk are fighting together now, really together. They're not going to lose." The battle reached its climax in the facility's power plant, a massive chamber housing the reactors that powered Scarif's shields. Vader had lured the Hulk here deliberately, intending to use the reactor as a weapon. If he could overload it while the Hulk was nearby, the explosion might be sufficient to contain even gamma-enhanced biology. "Checkmate," Vader said, his lightsaber poised to strike the reactor's control panel. "Surrender or I detonate this facility. Everyone dies. Imperial personnel, your rebel friends, innocent civilians. Can your conscience bear that weight?" The Hulk banner smiled, a disturbing expression on the Hulk's face. "You made a mistake, Vader. You brought me to a power source, and gamma radiation, it makes Hulk stronger." He plunged his hands directly into the reactor core. The energy should have killed him. Instead, the gamma radiation produced by the alien reactor technology fed directly into the Hulk's biology, enhancing his already immense power. He absorbed enough energy to power a city, channeled it through his cells, and redirected it with Banner's scientific precision. The release was controlled, not an explosion, but a directed pulse of gamma energy that struck Vader with the force of a star going supernova. The Dark Lord was blown backward through 3 walls, his armor sparking, his systems overloading from the sheer energy influx. When the light faded, Vader lay in the rubble, his armor damaged, his breathing labored. The Hulk stood over him, glowing with absorbed radiation, more powerful than he'd ever been. Hulk could crush Vader now, the Hulk banner said. But Banner says no, because killing isn't the answer. Because you're a victim too, turned into a weapon by people who used your trauma. So Hulk won't kill Vader, but Hulk won't let Vader capture Hulk either. He turned and leapt away, his gamma-enhanced strength carrying him kilometers with each jump. Behind him, the facility's charges detonated, destroying the Empire's shield research and ensuring their technology couldn't be replicated. Vader lay in the ruins, his damaged armor slowly repairing itself, and allowed himself something he rarely felt: respect. The creature had bested him, not through superior power alone, but through the synthesis of strength and intelligence that made him more than just a monster. Perhaps, Vader thought, there was more to learn from this being than he'd anticipated. The ghost extracted Banner from Scarif's wilderness, and the team returned to Attilan in triumph. They'd destroyed the facility, captured vital intelligence, and proved that the Hulk could be deployed strategically without catastrophic collateral damage. "You did good, Bruce," Hera said as Banner, human again and exhausted, sat in the common area, wrapped in a blanket. "Really good. The mission succeeded because of you." "I almost lost control," Banner admitted, "when Vader started manipulating me, when he showed me his face and talked about being monsters together. I wanted to listen, wanted to believe someone else understood what this is like." "Someone does," Kanan said. "All of us. Maybe we're not gamma-powered giants, but we're all fighting internal battles while pretending to be stable. You're not alone, Bruce. That's what makes us a team." "A team," Banner repeated, tasting the word. He'd been part of the Avengers, but that had always felt temporary, a collection of extraordinary people forced together by circumstance. This felt different, more genuine. "So what now?" Ezra asked. "The Empire knows we've got the Hulk. They'll keep coming after us." "Let them come," Banner said, and there was steel in his voice. "I'm tired of running, tired of hiding from what I am. If the Empire wants a monster, they'll get one. But on my terms, fighting for something I believe in, with people who see me as human, even when I'm not." Mon Mothma's hologram appeared, her expression pleased. "Dr. Banner, congratulations on a successful mission. Your contribution has been invaluable, and I believe I speak for the entire rebellion when I say, welcome home." Home. Banner hadn't had a real home since Culver University, since before the accident, since before the Hulk. He'd been a fugitive, a weapon, a curse, looking for a cure. But maybe home wasn't a place. Maybe it was people who accepted you, monster and man alike, and fought beside you anyway. "Thank you," Banner said. "And Mon Mothma, next mission, I want to help design weapons specifically to counter Imperial technology. If I'm going to be your secret weapon, I want to make sure you've got others that don't require risking my sanity." "Agreed," Mon Mothma said. "Dr. Banner, you're officially appointed as the Rebellion's Chief Science Advisor. Use your knowledge to help us survive, and when necessary, use your other abilities to help us win." The hologram faded. Banner looked around at his team, his friends, and allowed himself something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the naive hope of someone who believed everything would work out. The practical hope of someone who'd found a purpose worth fighting for, even if that fight required becoming a monster. Because sometimes the galaxy needed a monster, as long as that monster chose who to fight for. 6 months after Scarif, Bruce Banner had become a legend within the rebellion, not just as the Hulk, but as the brilliant scientist who'd revolutionized their technology and proven that intelligence could be as valuable as raw power. The rebellion's new headquarters on Yavin 4 reflected that evolution. Banner's laboratory occupied an entire section of the ancient Masasi temple, filled with equipment he'd designed or modified using principles from Earth physics. Shield generators that could withstand Star Destroyer bombardment. Weapons that exploited weaknesses in Imperial armor. Communication systems that couldn't be jammed by Imperial technology. "You've been busy," Princess Leia Organa said, entering the lab with the confident stride of someone accustomed to authority. She'd arrived from Alderaan 3 days ago and had immediately wanted to meet the scientist everyone was talking about. "Staying busy keeps me from thinking too hard about my situation," Banner replied, not looking up from the power coupling he was adjusting. "Thinking leads to stress. Stress leads to transformations. Transformations lead to complicated cleanup operations and awkward apologies." "I heard about the incident last week," Leia said with slight amusement. "Apparently the Hulk destroyed 3 training facilities because someone's stress ball accidentally hit you during combat drills." "It was a very aggressive throw," Banner said defensively, "and I was already on edge because the Imperials had attacked our supply convoy that morning. The Hulk has opinions about being hit with projectiles, even harmless ones. The point is you're trying," Leia said, her tone becoming serious. 6 months ago, you couldn't maintain control for more than a few minutes. Now you're successfully integrating Banner and Hulk consciousnesses during missions. That's remarkable progress. "Progress that might not matter," Banner said, finally turning to face her. "Princess, I need to be honest. The Empire is adapting. They've created weapons specifically designed to counter the Hulk. Particle disruptors, gamma inhibitors, neural disruption fields. Each engagement, they get a little better at containing me. Eventually they'll figure out how to neutralize the Hulk entirely. Then I'm just a scientist who can't go home. Then we need to ensure you remain valuable as a scientist," Leia said, "which brings me to why I'm here. Imperial intelligence suggests they're constructing something massive. Something that makes the weapons facility on Scarif look like a research lab. We don't know what it is, but we know it's Emperor Palpatine's highest priority project." "And you want me to investigate," Banner said. "I want you to do what you do best," Leia corrected. Apply your extraordinary intellect to figuring out what the Empire's building and how we can stop it. If that requires the Hulk, so be it. But your brain is the real weapon here, Doctor. Don't forget that. Before Banner could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. Red alert klaxons that meant only one thing: Imperial attack. The command center was chaos. General Dodonna stood before tactical displays, showing a scene from their worst nightmares. The largest Imperial fleet ever assembled, dropping out of hyperspace directly above Yavin 4. 40-star destroyers. Admiral Raddus reported, his voice grim. 2 superstar destroyers, and the Executor, Darth Vader's flagship. They've found us. This is a full-scale assault intended to eliminate the rebellion entirely. How did they find us? Mon Mothma demanded. Unknown, Dodonna said. But it doesn't matter now. We need to evacuate immediately. All personnel to transports. Get as many ships away as possible before they deploy their blockade. Banner interrupted, studying the tactical display with his physicist's eye. They've positioned the fleet to prevent hyperspace jumps in any direction except through their line of fire. It's a killing box. Anyone who tries to escape gets obliterated. Then what do you suggest? Leia asked. Banner was silent for a moment, his analytical mind processing options, calculating probabilities, running simulations. Then his eyes widened with realization. They're not here for the base, Banner said. Look at the fleet positioning. If they wanted to destroy us, they'd have started orbital bombardment already, but they're just sitting there, waiting. This isn't an extermination mission. This is a capture operation. Capture who? Dodonna asked. Me, Banner said quietly. Vader's here personally. He's brought overwhelming force, and he's giving us time to realize we're trapped. This entire assault is designed to force me to surrender myself in exchange for the rebellion's survival. As if to confirm Banner's assessment, every communication system in the base activated simultaneously. Darth Vader's mechanically augmented voice filled the temple, echoing through chambers that had stood for thousands of years. Dr. Bruce Banner, Vader said, I know you can hear me. I come not to destroy the rebellion, but to make you an offer. Surrender yourself to Imperial custody, and I will allow every rebel on Yavin 4 to escape unharmed. You have my word, a word I have never broken, that no rebel will be pursued if you comply. Refuse, and I will destroy every ship, every transport, every being that attempts to flee this moon. The choice is yours. You have 10 minutes. The command center fell silent. Every eye turned to Banner, who stood frozen, his hands shaking, his heart rate spiking toward dangerous levels. Absolutely not, Leia said immediately. We don't negotiate with the Empire, and we certainly don't surrender our people. She's right, Hera agreed, arriving with the ghost crew. Bruce, you're not expendable. We'll find another way. What other way? Banner asked, his voice hollow. You've seen the fleet, 40-star destroyers. We can't fight that. We can't run from that. And if I don't surrender, thousands of people die. People who've been nothing but kind to me, who've treated me like a person rather than a weapon. How can I let them die when I could save them? Because surrendering means the Empire gets exactly what they want. Kanan said, they'll study you, replicate your powers, create an army of gamma-enhanced soldiers. That outcome is worse than any of us dying here. Is it? Banner challenged, because from where I'm standing, the certain death of thousands of good people seems worse than the possibility of the Empire figuring out gamma radiation. At least if I surrender, you all survive. You can keep fighting. Maybe find a way to stop whatever the Empire builds with my research. Or maybe Vader's lying, Ezra suggested. Maybe he lets us go and then tracks our evacuation to find other rebellion bases. We can't trust anything the Empire says. Vader doesn't lie, Banner said, and everyone looked at him in surprise. I've fought him twice now, talked to him. He's a monster serving evil, but he has a code. When he gives his word, he keeps it. I don't know why, but I believe him. If he says you'll be allowed to escape, you will be. Mon Mothma studied Banner with an expression that mixed respect and sorrow. You're actually considering this. I'm a scientist, Banner said. I calculate probabilities, and the probability of everyone surviving if I surrender is significantly higher than any alternative scenario. The math is clear. Math doesn't account for what's right, Leia said. You've given us so much, Dr. Banner. Your knowledge, your courage, your willingness to be a weapon when necessary while maintaining your humanity. We can't let the Empire take that. You're not letting them, Banner said. I'm choosing this. That's the difference. Not being forced or coerced or manipulated. I'm making an informed decision to sacrifice myself so others live. Isn't that what heroes do? The words hit Hera hard. She'd used similar logic when justifying her own dangerous missions. How could she argue against Banner doing exactly what she'd done dozens of times? There has to be another option, Sabine said desperately. Some technical solution, some tactical approach. There isn't, Banner said with finality. He looked around at these people, his friends, his team, his family in this strange galaxy. Thank you, all of you, for treating me like Bruce Banner and not just the Hulk. For showing me that I could be useful for more than smashing things. For giving me 6 months where I felt human again. He walked toward the temple's main entrance before anyone could stop him. Kanan moved to block his path, hand on his lightsaber. I can't let you do this, Kanan said. You can't stop me, Banner replied. And you know it. Either I walk out there voluntarily, or the other guy walks out there after you try to restrain me. Which outcome would you prefer? Kanan hesitated, then stepped aside. Some battles couldn't be won through force. Banner emerged from the temple into Yavin 4's humid jungle air. Above, the Imperial fleet hung like a sword over the moon's atmosphere. A single shuttle descended, landing in the clearing before the temple. Its ramp lowered, and stormtroopers emerged, weapons ready, but not aimed. They were taking no chances with the target. Then Vader descended, his cape billowing, his mechanical breathing audible even at this distance. Dr. Banner, Vader said, you've made the wise choice. Come willingly, and your friends will be spared. I need your word, Banner said, stopping 10 meters from the shuttle. Your actual word, Vader. Not Imperial promises, not the Emperor's guarantees. Your personal word that every rebel on this base will be allowed to evacuate safely. No pursuit, no tracking, no hidden betrayals. Vader was silent for a moment, then removed his helmet, a gesture of respect he'd never shown anyone, besides Banner. You have my word, Vader said, his scarred face visible. I am many things, Dr. Banner. I have committed atrocities in service to the Empire. I have killed innocents and broken beings who opposed my master. But I do not break my word. Every rebel on this moon will be allowed to escape. You have my oath. Banner nodded, accepting the truth he heard in those words. Then I surrender. But Vader? Eventually someone's going to stop the Empire. Maybe the rebellion, maybe someone else. But tyranny always falls, always. And when it does, I hope you remember this moment. Remember that you had a choice. Let me surrender or slaughter thousands. You chose the path that saved lives. That counts for something." "Perhaps," Vader said, replacing his helmet. "Or perhaps it merely delays the inevitable. Time will tell." Banner walked toward the shuttle, each step feeling like the hardest thing he'd ever done. Harder than fighting aliens in New York. Harder than living as a fugitive for years. Harder than facing Thanos. Behind him, through the temple entrance, his friends watched in stunned silence. Hera had tears streaming down her face. Kanan's hand was clenched so tight, his knuckles were white. Even Chopper, the usually sarcastic droid, was silent. Banner was almost to the shuttle when he felt it. A surge in his emotions, a spike of fear and regret and anger at the unfairness of this situation. His heart rate jumped. His skin began to tingle with the familiar heat of transformation. No, Banner thought desperately. Not now. Not when I'm trying to save them. Please, other guy, not now. But the Hulk had opinions about surrendering, about being captured, about walking voluntarily into imprisonment by people who'd already tortured them once. Banner's transformation began mid-step. His body expanded, muscles bulking impossibly, skin turning green. The stormtroopers raised their weapons in panic. Vader's hand went to his lightsaber. "Stand down," Banner Hulk growled, fighting to maintain enough control to speak. Hulk, not attacking. Hulk just doesn't want to be captured. But Banner made deal. Banner gave word. Hulk will honor Banner's word. It was the most articulate the Hulk had ever been. The most controlled transformation Banner had ever maintained. The fusion of consciousnesses that he'd been working toward for months, manifesting at the worst possible moment, or maybe the best possible moment. Because standing before the Empire as the Hulk, choosing to board their shuttle voluntarily, despite every instinct screaming to smash everything, was perhaps the greatest demonstration of control Banner had ever achieved. Vader studied the Hulk with fascination. Remarkable. You transform but maintain Banner's intelligence and control. The synthesis is nearly complete. Not complete, the Hulk Banner said. Still fighting, still two people in one body, but learning, trying. Banner and Hulk want same thing. To be left alone, to not hurt people, to maybe do some good. That makes working together easier. He climbed aboard the shuttle, his massive frame barely fitting through the doorway. As the ramp closed, he took one last look at Yavin 4, at the temple where he'd found purpose, at the friends who'd given him hope. Hulk will come back, he said quietly, when Banner figures out escape, when Empire makes Hulk too angry to stay captured. Hulk always comes back. The shuttle lifted off, and true to Vader's word, the Imperial fleet allowed the rebellion to evacuate. Transports and fighters streamed away from Yavin 4 unmolested, scattering to prearranged coordinates across the galaxy. The Empire made no attempt to pursue or track them. Vader kept his word. But keeping his word didn't mean his objectives had changed. Aboard the Executor, Banner was placed in a specially designed containment cell. Not the crude torture facility on Lothal, but a sophisticated chamber built specifically for him over the past 6 months. The walls were lined with gamma radiation dampeners. The atmosphere was laced with mild sedatives designed to keep stress levels manageable. The entire cell was one massive science experiment designed to keep the Hulk from emerging. "Comfortable?" Vader asked through speakers. "As comfortable as a prisoner can be," Banner replied, sitting on the cell's single bench. He'd transformed back to human form during the flight, and the Empire had provided simple clothing, Jumpsuit and boots, nothing that would trigger claustrophobic responses. "You will be treated well," Vader said. "The Emperor wishes to meet you personally. He believes you are key to understanding a new form of power, one that operates independently of the Force. Your cooperation would be appreciated." "And if I don't cooperate?" "Then you remain here, comfortable but confined, while Imperial scientists study you from afar," Vader said. "We will learn what we need to know eventually. Cooperation simply expedites the process and ensures you maintain agency in how you're studied." Banner laughed bitterly. "Agency. That's a nice word for, we'll experiment on you either way, but if you help, we'll be gentler about it." "Thanks, but no thanks, Vader. I'm done being a lab rat for people who want to weaponize me." "Even if that weaponization could save billions?" Vader asked. "The galaxy is chaotic, Doctor. Pirates, slavers, criminal syndicates, rebellious factions. The Empire brings order to that chaos. Imagine if we could deploy soldiers with your abilities, peacekeepers who couldn't be killed, who could stop threats that kill ordinary troops. Think of the lives saved." "I've heard this speech before," Banner said. "From General Ross, from S.H.I.E.L.D., from every authority figure who ever wanted to control the Hulk. It always sounds reasonable. It always serves evil. The answer is no." "Then you will remain here," Vader said, "indefinitely, until you change your mind, or your usefulness expires." The communication cut off, leaving Banner alone in the sophisticated prison designed specifically to contain him. But the Empire had made one critical miscalculation. They'd assumed Banner wanted to escape, that his primary goal would be breaking free and returning to his friends. And they'd designed the cell to prevent that, to keep him physically contained, emotionally stable, unable to transform or rebel. What they didn't realize was that Banner's goal wasn't escape. It was intelligence gathering. Over the next 3 weeks, Banner played the perfect prisoner. Cooperative enough to avoid harsh treatment, uncooperative enough to seem genuine. And every moment he was studying his environment, analyzing the Empire's technology, mapping the Executor's systems through careful observation and scientific deduction. The gamma dampeners had a specific frequency. The sedatives in the air had a predictable metabolization rate. The cell's force fields operated on power systems he could diagram from memory. And most importantly, the Empire's scientists were arrogant enough to conduct research near his cell, thinking he was too contained to be a threat. Banner learned about the Empire's gamma radiation experiments, learned they'd been trying to replicate his transformation and failing catastrophically. Test subjects dying from exposure or transforming into mindless monsters without the intelligence that made the Hulk formidable. And he learned about the Emperor's superweapon project, the massive construction that Princess Leia had mentioned, the thing that made Scarif look insignificant, the Death Star, a space station the size of a moon, capable of destroying planets with a single blast, the ultimate terror weapon, designed to keep the entire galaxy in fearful submission to Imperial authority. "They're building it," Banner whispered to himself after overhearing 2 technicians discussing the project. "A weapon that makes nuclear bombs look like firecrackers. And if they succeed, the rebellion can't possibly win." He needed to escape, needed to warn his friends, needed to stop this monstrosity before it became operational. But escaping meant transforming. And transforming in this cell, surrounded by dampeners and sedatives, would be incredibly difficult and painful. Banner had never let pain stop him before. He began the process methodically. First, he stopped eating the provided food, switched to only drinking water, purging the sedatives from his system over days. Then he began deliberately stressing himself. Exercise to exhaustion, meditation on traumatic memories, anything to spike his cortisol levels. The guards noticed his behavior change, but attributed it to depression. Prisoners often stopped eating, became withdrawn. It was expected. What wasn't expected was Banner timing his transformation attempt to coincide with a shift change, the 15-minute window when guards were distracted and systems were most vulnerable. He closed his eyes, released every bit of control he'd been maintaining, and let the other guy out with one thought. Smash the Empire. The transformation was agony. The gamma dampeners fought his biology, trying to suppress the change. The residual sedatives in his system slowed the process. But rage was more powerful than technology. Banner's fury at being captured, at being studied, at knowing the Empire planned to use his research for a planet-killing weapon, that rage overwhelmed every safety measure. The Hulk emerged screaming, his roar shaking the Executor's corridors. The containment cell's force fields held for approximately 3 seconds before the Hulk's fists shattered the emitters. The walls crumbled, alarms blared, and one very angry green giant began tearing through the Empire's flagship with singular purpose. Stormtroopers tried to stop him. Their blasters were useless. Heavy weapons were useless. Even blast doors designed to withstand starship weapons failed against the Hulk's rage-fueled strength. All units converge on detention level 7, an officer commanded over comms. Deploy Gamma Protocol weapons. Use maximum force. But the Hulk had learned from Scarif. When the particle disruptors emerged from wall compartments, he didn't fight them directly. He tore the walls apart, destroying the weapons before they could fire. He used debris as shields. He adapted tactics that combined Banner's intelligence with the Hulk's strength. He was unstoppable. Vader felt the rampage through the Force, or rather, felt the absence where the Hulk's presence created a void in precognition. He made his way to the detention level with measured steps, knowing confrontation was inevitable. They met in the Executor's main hangar, a vast space filled with TIE fighters and support vehicles. The Hulk stood among the wreckage of a dozen fighters, breathing hard, looking for the next threat. "You've destroyed Imperial property worth millions," Vader said calmly. "Killed 17 stormtroopers and proven that no prison can hold you. Are you satisfied?" "Hulk not finished," the Hulk banner said, his merged consciousness speaking. "Hulk knows about Death Star now, knows Empire building weapon to blow up planets. Hulk has to stop it, has to warn friends." "The Death Star is none of your concern," Vader said. "It is a tool to maintain order through fear, to prevent galactic chaos by demonstrating the consequences of rebellion. You cannot stop its construction. You cannot prevent its deployment. All you can do is choose whether to die opposing it or survive by serving it." Hulk chooses third option, the Hulk banner said. Hulk breaks out, tells friends about Death Star. Friends destroy Death Star. Empire loses. That's how this ends. "Is it?" Vader asked. He gestured, and the hangar's atmospheric shields activated, sealing the space but maintaining breathable air. "I've been lenient with you, creature, hoping you would see reason, hoping you would understand that the Empire represents order against chaos. But if you insist on opposing us, I will demonstrate what true power means." Dark side energy gathered around Vader like a storm. Force lightning crackled from his hands, not the minor displays from before, but the full concentrated power of a Dark Lord who'd been holding back. The lightning struck the Hulk, and for the first time since arriving in this galaxy, Banner felt the Hulk's strength faltering. The dark side energy wasn't just damaging tissue. It was attacking the gamma radiation in his cells, disrupting the very force that made the Hulk possible. The dark side, Vader said, advancing with lightning still flowing, is more than mere energy. It is corruption made manifest. It can twist, damage, destroy on levels that transcend physical durability. Your gamma radiation is formidable, creature, but it is not limitless. Even you can be broken. The Hulk fell to one knee, roaring in pain and rage, but pain made him angry, and anger made him stronger. The cycle that the Empire couldn't understand, that hurting the Hulk only fed his power, kicked in with devastating force. The Hulk's muscles bulked further. His already massive frame expanded beyond what should be possible. Gamma radiation poured off him in visible waves, his rage reaching levels that warped reality itself through sheer intensity. And the dark side lightning stopped working, not because the Hulk resisted it, but because his biology adapted mid-battle, evolving defenses against the specific threat faster than Vader could adjust his attack. It was the ultimate expression of Banner's gamma-enhanced evolution, adaptation in real time, driven by survival instinct and primal rage. "Hulk strongest there is," the Hulk roared, and his fist struck Vader with enough force to send the Dark Lord crashing through the hangar's far wall. The Hulk didn't wait to see if Vader survived. He grabbed a TIE fighter, tore off its solar panel wings, and hurled the entire vehicle at the nearest wall. The impact created a breach, not large, but large enough. The Hulk jumped through the breach into space, his body adapting to hard vacuum through sheer biological impossibility, and began the long leap toward the nearest planet. Behind him, the Executor scrambled to respond, but by the time they'd organized pursuit, the Hulk was already entering the atmosphere of a nearby world, burning through re-entry like a green meteor. Vader pulled himself from the wreckage, his armor damaged, his breathing labored. For the second time, the creature had bested him, not through superior technique or strategy, but through sheer indomitable will. "Respect," Vader said quietly, watching the Hulk disappear into the atmosphere below. "And a lesson. Power alone is never enough. Will, determination, the refusal to surrender, those are the true weapons. The creature understands this, perhaps better than I." He activated his comlink. "This is Lord Vader to Imperial Center. The gamma radiation experiment has escaped. Update intelligence protocols. The creature known as Hulk is to be considered an alpha-level threat. All forces are authorized to engage with maximum force. But remember, force will only make him stronger. The only way to defeat this creature is to give him nothing to fight against. Isolate him. Contain him psychologically rather than physically. Make him choose surrender over battle." But Vader knew, even as he gave the orders, that such a strategy would likely fail. The Hulk banner didn't surrender, didn't quit, didn't accept defeat, which made him the most dangerous enemy the Empire faced. Because how do you stop someone who gets stronger every time you hurt them? How do you defeat someone whose power literally has no upper limit? The answer, Vader was beginning to realize, was that you didn't. You either killed them, which seemed impossible, or you made peace with them. And the Empire didn't make peace with anyone. Banner reunited with the Rebellion 3 weeks later, crash landing on their new hidden base with information about the Death Star, tactical data on Imperial systems, and first-hand experience with the Empire's most elite forces. "You came back," Hera said, embracing Banner despite his grimy, battered appearance. "We didn't know if you'd survived, if you'd escaped, if—" "I'm hard to kill," Banner said with exhausted humor, the Hulk even harder. "But Hera, the Empire's building something terrible, a weapon that can destroy planets, and it's almost complete. We need to stop it before—" "We know," Leia said, entering with Mon Mothma. "While you were imprisoned, our spies confirmed the Death Star's existence. We've been gathering intelligence, trying to find a weakness. But Banner?" She smiled. "Your escape gave us something we didn't have before. You've been inside the Executor. You've studied their systems. You know their capabilities. That intelligence is invaluable." "Then use it," Banner said. "Use everything I learned, because I made a promise to myself while I was escaping. The Empire wanted to turn me into a weapon. Fine, I'll be a weapon, but on my terms, fighting for people who deserve it and helping destroy the Death Star. That's exactly the kind of fight I've been looking for." "Welcome home, Bruce," Mon Mothma said. "Now let's save the galaxy." Banner looked around at his friends, at the people who'd risked everything for him, at the rebellion that had given him purpose in this strange galaxy. "Home?" Banner repeated. "Yeah, I think it is." And somewhere deep inside his consciousness, the Hulk rumbled agreement, because the Hulk had learned something during the escape. Learned that Banner and Hulk together were stronger than either alone. That cooperation beat conflict. That being a monster wasn't so bad when you were a monster fighting for something good. The Empire wanted a weapon. They were going to get one, just not the kind they expected.